He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I hope you're doing great. That was just a terrific conversation we just had with Paige Roberts, the executive from the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce, and the work they're doing is so important. I love talking to the leaders of the chambers across the coast because they seem to be so in touch with what's happening, and they have such an important role to play. So I really appreciate Paige joining me. And if you missed that, you can go look at it at the Facebook page for SuperTalk Gulf Coast. You know, in a moment when we're learning to live with this pandemic, it's kind of hanging out there. We want efforts to continue that will keep us safe, keep our loved ones safe, particularly the vulnerable in our community. That is definitely for sure. But as most of us have come to realize from what we're reading, that in this economic shutdown, there's also a balancing act that has to occur between keeping people safe and the social costs that come from shutting the economy down. That's obviously a growing and significant problem in America today. Things like mental health issues, addiction, domestic abuse, child abuse, just managing stress and anxiety. These are all really important aspects of what we're dealing with today. Finding the balance between keeping us safe from the pandemic and starting the economy back up in a way that can help us limit the social costs are really important. I want to welcome Dr. Michael Hall, who's a member of the leadership team at Gulfport Behavioral Health System. He has a doctorate in social work from Tulane University and has a distinguished career in psychiatric and chemical dependency disorders. And he reminded me before the show that he worked with us at the Sun Herald when I was there on our EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program. They always did such a great job supporting our efforts there. And it was great to sort of be reacquainted with an old friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Hey, let's do this. Before we kind of unleash a discussion about some of the challenges that people are facing today as a result of this situation we all find ourselves in, tell me first about Gulfport Behavioral Health System. What is it?
Well, Gulfport Behavioral Health System is an inpatient psychiatric facility. We treat children, adolescents, and adults, children as young as age 4, with various mental health issues. We offer inpatient and outpatient services. We also offer a variety of other ancillary services to help patients who come into the facility. But we do free assessments, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So to access our services, you would call 831-1700, and a licensed clinician would answer the phone and assist the caller.
So one of the things you and I were talking about is that after Katrina, we had a full-time psychologist that worked with our employees at the Sun Herald for some time, 3 or 4 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, actually. And one of the things that she taught me was that just under normal circumstances, there are a lot of people who are on the edge of maybe needing some type of assistance. And you get an event like a pandemic or Katrina or anything like that, and suddenly, particularly their jobs, if they were to have challenges in their jobs, they suddenly are in a position where they may need assistance. Talk about the kind of issues that you guys are facing these days.
We're seeing a lot of patients who might come into the hospital for depressive disorders related to the changes that are occurring with this COVID-19. People are experiencing a lot of different types of issues related to job loss, related to unemployment, related to just basically having to homeschool their children now. And this is something that a lot of families are not accustomed to. I think this situation is like none other than we've seen before, that we've witnessed before, especially in my lifetime. I've not witnessed anything like this. But we're seeing a lot of patients who... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You finish your thought, for sure.
But, we're seeing a lot of patients who come into the hospital for depression. We're seeing some substance abuse coming into the facility now. And some of these issues with substance abuse is just a way that one would try to cope with issues that are going on.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a reality, but the good news is for the community is they have organizations like yours to be able to go to and to be able to find the help that they need and get, as you pointed out, get the free assessment. So as we go forward, what kind of advice do you give to people who are contemplating whether they themselves are experiencing something that could be related to anxiety, it could be stress related issues, it could be someone they know and love. What advice do you have for them to begin to get their heads around what they should do next?
I would suggest just basically taking care of yourself, being aware of and being in touch with how you feel. If you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling out of control, if you're feeling issues with just being able to cope with life's daily stressors, then I would suggest, trying to seek help in some form, shape, or fashion. You know, seeking mental health is shouldn't be something that we avoid doing. Good mental health is just as good as good physical health. If you know of someone who might be experiencing depression or anxiety related issues, encourage them, talk to them, and see if you can encourage them to talk to someone. Seeking mental health is not something that someone would just readily go out and do. You know.
Yeah, I had a really good conversation with a friend of mine who's involved in chamber work here in coastal Mississippi the other day, and one of the things that she said to me was that the businesses that are struggling, that many of those business owners have had very long conversations with her, and the way she described it was almost as if they were just coming to her because they needed someone to talk to. It wasn't necessarily they were needing help to sort through the SBA issues, and maybe they did, but it was just that they just needed someone to talk to, that they felt like they were really under stress. Oftentimes, just leaning on someone, finding someone that you can share your situation with, that's a step in the right direction in and of itself, isn't it?
I would definitely say so. Rick. We're asked to do totally opposite of what we were created to do. We are created to be social beings. We are asked to isolate ourselves now. This is something totally contrary to what we were designed to be or to do. Uh, and so, yes, just being able to talk to someone uh, is a big help. It won't change the situation, but it will definitely change how you respond to the situation, and that's what's most important. So being able to talk to someone, as you've heard the expression, your chest. Well, getting it off your chest actually works. You know, it can be very helpful to just be able to have someone to bounce some things off of. If there's someone that you trust, that you know, that you can talk to, uh, that will definitely help you and aid you in dealing with whatever types of stresses that you might be encountering at the time.
Yeah, you said this one of the most unusual situations you faced in your lifetime. I mean, people say that a lot on my show, that this is probably one of the strangest moments we ever had. It's almost like this hurricane has come, but the eye is sitting on top of us, but we don't really know what's on the other side of this. It's just kind of sitting here spinning. Have you heard that expression before?
I can't say that I've heard that expression, but I definitely know where you're coming from when you say that.
So, I think what I've tried to do in this show is just convey to people that we can restart our economy. which is really important because if we can get people their jobs back as quickly as possible, that's going to be good. But we have to do it within the context of a safe environment. I mean, that's also critical. That social distancing, face masks, all those things, particularly protecting the vulnerable, are going to be sort of the way it's going to be until we get a vaccine or until something else happens that diminishes this terrible disease. But we've got to do both. We've got to live healthy and safe, but we also got to get the economy going. And if we get people's jobs back, I think that's going to be one thing that can really help in the area of mental health that you're most concerned about. Jobs are really a critical factor in people's stability, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think you mentioned something that was very, very important. This is going to be our and I say new normal. That's kind of the new buzzword now. Is what is our new normal going to look like? What is it going to be? So you mentioned the face mask, the social distancing, and I think these are all going to be parts of our new normal that we will face in days to come. I was walking with a friend this morning, and we were talking about the school system opening back up and how it might be later on in the year before before they get back to opening up. And in other words, what I'm trying to say is that they're not going to probably open up back the normal times that they would.
Why don't we do this? Hold your thought right there. Let's come back after this break, and we'll pick the thought up right there. This is Dr. Michael Hall from the Gulfport Behavioral Health System, and we'll be back right after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast Vue podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We have Michael Hall. He has a PhD in social work from Tulane University. He's been with Gulfport Behavioral Health System for 27 years, which happened to be the same number of times that I was at the Sun Herald. And he used to actually call on the Sun Herald, and we did some really good, important work together during those times. But when we went to the break, Dr. Hall, you were talking about about school maybe being delayed. Why don't you pick up your thought from there?
Yeah, a friend of mine, we were walking this morning, we were talking about what schools would look like once they started back. And all of this is a part of that new normal that we had mentioned a few minutes ago. Schools are not, would kids be wearing masks? Would kids be going the full time? Would kids, what size would their classrooms be? So I think schools are going to look differently than we are normally accustomed to seeing schools look. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, I think it's really, really going to be interesting. There's been lots of changes. The way we do a show like this, the use of Zoom for meetings and businesses. In my conversation with Lee Bond and Kent Nico, they talked about the incredible growth of telemedicine and what's happened there. Are you guys using telemedicine?
We are using telemedicine. Some of our psychiatrists now are doing telemedicine. So
some of that we won't look back. I mean, that'll be part of the way we do business.
Absolutely. Some of that is going to be some of the new norms that we're going to see.
There's your new norm again. So we've seen, you've done some thinking about the difference between sort of what we experienced after Hurricane Katrina and the pandemic. What are you seeing in your arena, the differences to be?
Well, some of the differences are, we just talked about the schools a few minutes ago. We look at job loss. There are some similarities and there are also some differences with regards to looking back at Hurricane Katrina and comparing that to the COVID-19. There was a significant environmental impact that we saw during Hurricane Katrina that we probably won't see, with this COVID-19, geographic escapes. Back when Katrina happened, um, people were able to make geographic escapes going from this area to maybe relocating to another area. There's no relocating with the COVID-19 because this is a pandemic and it's worldwide. So there's no where you can go that you can escape from this thing. So those are just some of the major differences, that we've seen, that I've seen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't, we've often talked about on this show, no matter what industry you're in, that industry is facing this challenge around the world. And with as in the case of Katrina, where families could go live with another family somewhere else and sort of kind of weather the storm, so to speak, that's not available to them today. You're really active. You've spent your entire education is focused on social work, and you've been very active in the National Association of Social Work. And at the Sun Herald, we were always focused on that important element of our community. Tell me, what do you think the stresses on that industry or that important work will be as a result of the pandemic?
I think it's really going to be taxing to the field of social work. It's going to create some new opportunities for the field of social work with regards to, as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, telehealth. I think social work is going to become more involved in those types of mediums to better serve our clientele. Social workers are going to be more involved in schools in a different way this time, I think, after the pandemic. So we're going to probably see social work social work is going to be called to do a variety of things, maybe some things that are kind of outside of the box than we had been accustomed to in the past. Social workers are known for their resourcefulness. And so I think you're going to see some new and innovative things that social workers are going to be coming up with and trying to get to our clientele and give them and offer them the best possible service.
Well, there's going to be a lot of challenges. I mean, all the things that you and I have talked about, those challenges are not just going to magically go away when the economy starts to roar again. Hopefully it will start to roar again. But so there's going to be a lot of work to do to help families cope and move forward. Look, we got less than a minute left. In the less than a minute left, why don't you remind people if they're struggling with anxiety or abuse or whatever the issue might be, and they just want to reach out to someone, tell them how to contact your organization.
Yes, we are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can contact us through our 800 number. That is 800-831-1700. Most recently, we have opened up a hotline, stress and anxiety hotline, and that number is 236-2236. Again, you can call either one of those numbers 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And someone will be there to assist you.
Or you can just do a search on Gulfport Behavioral Health System, and you'll find that information there as well. So, Dr. Michael Hall, we appreciate you taking some time to visit with us today, and appreciate you sharing this important message. And we'll look forward to talking to you again in the next few weeks.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Take care. Have a great day.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Twitter @SuperTalk MSGC.